Every household in the US owes nearly $800,000 per household to pay for the spending and the debt. Another stunning example of how this debt can never be paid off and how the working class, via taking bigger portions of their paycheck, are never going to be able to make a dent in this debt and spending. Hey everybody, my name is JJ, watching Bull Boom Bear Bust. So another sad example here. This is a recent article, and I did not see this very widely reported like I would have expected. I would have expected to see CNBC or other business news networks and channels reporting this, but I didn't. Now I might have missed it, but I found it mostly on alternative or not nationally known areas. In this case, it's mdjonline.com. And also here, another example of how the data, the numbers are manipulated. 123 trillion is the real debt when you look at all the data. Now, of course, the official number is 28 trillion. We talk about that number quite a lot here. That's the mainstream number that a lot of people talk about and know about. But it seems like all the data that's coming down from the money printers is manipulated and flawed in some way. So 123 trillion and counting. Now, technically, this is per household, so there may be more than one taxpayer in the household, but either way, impossible to pay off, not even close to being what we've been told here as far as the severity of the debt. Now, what's the difference between the 28 trillion and this enormous number, nearly 800,000 per household, is unfunded liabilities. That's a big part of it. Things like Medicare benefits, other payouts that people are promised. And here's kind of a eye-opening part in my opinion. One reason why the Treasury Department excludes unfunded benefits from its debt calculation is because it claims recipients have no right to future payments. They only have rights to claims through current entitlement laws. Right, and here's a big important part of this that really most people don't realize. Government documents indicate that laws to reduce or stop future benefits can be passed at any time by Congress. I mean, we always knew that was true, but I don't think most people realize that. Most people just think that the handouts, the payouts, are going to be there until the end of time. Laws to reduce or stop future benefits can be passed at any time. Can you imagine the hell that's going to be unleashed if they stop the payouts? Can you imagine? I mean, how many people are waiting in food lines now and desperate, living paycheck to paycheck, on the verge of homelessness, in need of rent forgiveness, mortgage forgiveness, in need of stimulus checks, unemployment benefits? Can you imagine if the payouts stop? What's going to happen? Well, it doesn't take much. An internet outage, power outage, someone compromises the system and brings the digital world to a halt. You could very, very easily see these payouts stop. Or they could just pass a law. They could say, sorry, we can't print money out of nothing anymore. We did it for many, many years, but now we can't do it anymore. It's not right. So sorry that you're millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people dependent on payouts. I'm very sorry is what they're going to say, but we can no longer print the money. Now go figure it out yourself. Right? They can stop the payouts at any time. It doesn't even have to be a surprise event, right? Like a grid failure or some other event. They could just pass a law, simple as that. Right? As simple as they can pass a law to spend more money, they can pass a law that we can't spend any more money. Right? Now, will they do that? Nobody knows. If you know, let me know down in the comments. But either way, you need to be prepared for what's coming. More printing equals higher prices, more inflation. Less printing or stopping of the printing is going to be Mad Max, millions starving, desperate, dangerous, even more dangerous than what it is now, dangerous situation. Now, here's a breakdown of some of the categories of the federal spending. 23% includes defense and veterans affairs. Well, the defense is actually a lot of its offense because we spend a lot of money sending troops around the world, and many would argue that it's places where we don't need to be. 16% on health and human services, Medicare, Medicaid, 16%, 5% interest on the national debt. So just interest on national debt's 5% of our annual spending. 2% on education, Now, a lot of people would look at these numbers and they'll say, well, here's a big problem in the numbers, right? 2% on education, 23% on defense and veteran affairs. And many would look at that and say too many wars and foreign entanglements and not enough learning. Other people say when it comes to the defense budget that too much is not enough because if we pull back on the spending, the US is in danger. They're going to come and attack the country. So when it comes to the spending, we're in this economic recovery is what we're being told. So seems like they would be able to slow down the spending and maybe raise interest rates. Let's take a look at what's happening. Federal taxes, spending, and deficit all set records in first half of fiscal year 2021. Federal taxes climbed to a record of 1,703,949,000,000 in October through March, while federal spending climbed to 3,410,194,000,000. Folks, I think most of you know by now there's no way out of this without a lot of pain, and it's going to be different types of pain depending on which direction it goes. More printing and more spending into infinity is going to lead to more rising prices. Now, just a couple years ago, people said that was impossible. Prices can't rise. There's too many people losing their jobs. Inflation is not possible with so much economic devastation. Well, look what's happening. Prices rising everywhere. Home prices, car prices, energy prices, goods, products, services rising. Why? A lot of reasons. One is we don't manufacture hardly anything here in the United States. We have to import it. Also, too much money being pushed out into the economy, too much spending, a lot of people with money to spend, but not enough goods and products and services to buy. We also have supply chain disruptions, shortages. Look at the chip shortages in the auto industry, causing some plants to have to close down and manufacturing cars. Endless money creation and lending, people getting loans, spending money that they don't have, more record debt and spending equals higher prices, inflation. But on the other hand, like we talked about earlier, if they pull back on the spending, if they stop the payout programs, if the banks get held accountable and can no longer create money out of thin air, then it's deflation. Then it's a massive collapse, correction, crash. And that's going to lead to more of a Mad Max type of scenario where you're going to have millions of people scrambling because the job losses are going to be even more severe than they are now. And that's hard to imagine. But that would be what would happen if we stopped the spending. In my opinion, that would be worse for a period, but it would be a shorter period of pain before people picked up the pieces. It could take several years, it could take decades to pick up the pieces of that sort of collapse when they stop the spending, because everything would have to be readjusted. People would have to start farming again, growing their own food, being more self-sufficient, instead of working for a corporation where in many cases, the corporation only exists because of debt. And we have roughly 1 in 5 companies that are zombie corporations right now. Right? And also imagine how many more jobs would vanish overnight if the stimulus checks and the payouts stopped, right? All that money being taken out of the economy, nobody spending money, most of these jobs that you see right today would be gone. You would actually see people bartering, trading, and having to work in something that would be immediately needed in your local area or community. Now, some people say it's not good to say it's different this time, but it actually is. It's much worse. But let me explain. Take a look at federal spending. The last time we saw this type of surge was coming out of the financial crisis. This was 2009 spending right here. And here we are now in 2021, obliterating that previous record. And coming out of the financial crisis, it was more of a recovery. Now, it was a debt-fueled recovery and a reinflation of the bubble recovery. But some deflation was allowed to happen before that record spending, that previous record. But today, this, what people are calling a recovery, which is really not, it's more of a debt and spending and keep the bubble inflated recovery. It's really not a recovery, it's being masked. But this recovery that they're calling it, deflation was not allowed. It's an inflationary, quote unquote, recovery. And it's very dangerous. So everybody keep preparing. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope to hear from you down in the comments on this one. Stay well, stay safe, stay prepared. And if you're working today, remember you need to help pay off that $123 trillion in debt. Even though they have a printing press, it's up to you, the working person, to pay for the spending. Get ready, folks. It's going to get ugly and nasty. Bye, everybody. Peace.